everyone. Welcome to Edukemy's YouTube page. As the mains exams are over, I hope you all have performed up to your expectations. In this light, we are discussing the few of the important questions that are worth discussing. I am Dimple Nankani and I would be discussing a few questions of the ethics paper. Now this first question number 1A, which talks about wisdom, which is the very first question of your ethics paper and set the tone for the rest of the paper. ये जो question था, it was a lengthy question and students have actually faced difficulty in understanding this question. So let us analyze this question number 1A. Question 1A, which is wisdom lies in knowing what to reckon with and what to overlook. An officer being engrossed with the periphery, ignoring the core issues before him, is no rare in bureaucracy. Do you agree that such preoccupation of an administrator leads to travesty of the justice to the cause of effective service delivery and a good governance? Important directive word is critically evaluate. This question number 1A, it was a difficult question in the sense कि इसको पढ़ के समझना थोड़ा सा difficult था in the exam-like condition. So question 1A, if I take into consideration, what is this question about? The question is about 2-3 things. One, that wisdom helps in differentiating a core issue and the periphery issue. So we need a wisdom to understand what is a core issue and what is a periphery issue. And then the question goes on saying that an officer which is engrossed in the periphery and ignoring the core issues can't achieve effective service delivery and the good governance. So if you want to achieve as an officer effective service delivery and good governance, you have to not just be engrossed in the periphery but should also focus on the core issues. And because the question says critically evaluate, you have to give the antithesis of it also. यानी कि core issue क्या है, पेरिफेरी इशू क्या है, ये समझना पड़ेगा और इस पे भी बताना होगा कि एक ऑफिसर जो सिर्फ पेरिफेरी में इश्यूज में ही उलझे हुए रहते हैं, दे कैन नॉट एक्चुअली लीड टू गुड गवर्नेंस एंड इफेक्टिव डिलीवरी एंड दिस हैज टू बी क्रिटिकली इवैल्यूएटेड. क्या ये सही है? अगर ये स्टेटमेंट सही है तो किस हद तक ये सही है, दैट यू विल हैव टू इवैल्यूएट. Moving on, now some of the common mistakes that the students would do in such question. One common mistake is you will not understand the demand of the question. What is the question trying to say? इसको समझना ही सबसे बड़ी बात होगी exam like condition. Then even if some students they actually understand the question, they would actually face difficulty in giving the examples, suitable examples. Always know that ethics is not complete without examples. You cannot simply write a theory-based questions and not give examples. So it is very important to give examples. And a third part that a student can miss is the critical evaluation. That is this directive word, that this statement is correct or not. And if this statement is correct, to what extent this statement is correct. Moving on. I'll just like to give you some of the inputs कि आप कैसे question को attempt कर सकते हैं. In your ethics paper, always try to put philosophers, some examples, some quote, some good administrative practice to gain more marks. I'll start off with the one quote of Aristotle, which says that, as per Aristotle, practical wisdom is the highest intellectual virtue. If you want to become a highly intellectual person, you should always exercise wisdom. And why is this particularly important for an administrator? Is because an administrator has to deal with limited resources like funds, limited functionaries to perform that funds, to perform the functions, and also they have limited time and energy. Because an administrator has limited time, limited energy, there are limited resources, an administrator, the wisdom as value becomes very important for the effective service delivery. So I've just in your introduction tried to emphasize the importance of wisdom, and I've tried to tell what are the Aristotle's view on wisdom. So, introduction can be a quote, can be the context. So I've tried to put both the things. The quote as well as the context of this question. Then after the introduction, as we've already said that in ethics, or to gain that +1 marks, examination mein agar aap, if you can score extra 1 mark in every question, that is what will make a difference. It's 20 questions, 19 questions for ethics. If you can give something to your examiner, which enables an examiner to give you 0.5 marks extra or +1 marks extra, that will be roughly 10 marks in one paper. and cumulatively it becomes 40 marks in all the GS papers. So what to do for that plus 1 marks? After the introduction, either try to have a picturesque depiction of something or try to give example in ethics paper. Example in ethics paper, or try to have a picturesque description or something picturesque tool which actually helps the examiner to know your content. So after the introduction, you can start off with a diagram which conveys the examiner the essence of the question. If I look into this, you can draw a diagram saying what are the issues in administration. We are flowing, the body is flowing. You mentioned the importance of wisdom. You mentioned about the issues. Why does the wisdom is important for the administrator, and then you write about what are the issues in your administration. Now you can draw these two diagrams side by side. This can be, the upper one can be your diagram 1 and the below one can be your diagram 2. So the diagram 1 is about, see, there are various issues in the administration. You have limited funds, there is limited manpower, there is a complexity in the administration. Because of too many procedures, law, and because of this complexity, there is a lack of clarity. So you have multiple laws, rules, regulation, limited funds, limited time, limited energy, limited functionaries, resources, manpower, and because of all this, the administration is becoming complex. Now the same diagram is below. These all are the issues in the administration, but an officer can become a change agent. How can an officer become a change agent? If an officer is engrossed in mundane tasks, is engrossed in a rigid adherence to the rules, then what will happen? Imagine there is a problem. An officer is just engrossed in the mundane task, is just engrossed in the rigid adherence of the rules. Then what will happen is there would be no change in the administration. The administration will become a status quoist. There will be a lack of change in the administration, and that is the administration would be as is where is basis, no change in the administration. However, with the same problem, if an officer is wise, if an officer has a goal clarity, he has an astute approach of handling things and can use the ethical and can make ethical use of the discretion. If an officer is wise enough to use his discretion well in a nice manner, is an astute in decision making, and is a change agent, then what will happen? With the same problem, the same officer, or with the exercise of wisdom, can lead to effective delivery of the services and the good governance. What we have done is, even if the examiner is just looking at the diagram, would understand that you have understood the demand of the question. So this diagram would help your examiner to give you an plus 1 marks or plus 0.5 marks. We're done with the introduction, the importance of the wisdom, how can an officer with the use of wisdom be a change agent, and in the body part, you substantiate the whole content in the body part, wherein you are trying to write about how can an officer with the use of wisdom has led to effective delivery of the service. So you know that a person, an officer who is wise, would fulfill the core issues, use the language of the question itself, would fulfill the core issues, would solve the core issues by using discretion in an ethical manner. And you can compare two examples. The example of Jharkhand and Delhi. In 2017 in Jharkhand, there was a hunger death of an 11-year-old child because the family did not have a ration card. Because the family did not have the ration card, the girl of the family actually died. The family could not procure the food. This is about the rigid adherence to the rules. Versus, if you look at the good governance practices in Delhi, there is a door-to-door delivery for the ration. Right? So there is door-to-door delivery. So this is about the being wise. The core issue was same, solving the problem of hunger. However, an officer with rigid adherence to rules can lead to a situation which is not so pleasant. But an officer who exercises wisdom can lead to an institutional change. So an example to substantiate that how wisdom can help in effective delivery of the services. Moving on, how can an officer with effective wisdom or with ethical use of discretion, which understands the core issues, also lead to good governance? So you know that a wise officer can utilize the limited resources, and this can lead to Suraj, or the good governance that you can write, while an officer who is just engrossed in the periphery would not be as wise, would not follow wisdom to expend taxpayers' money. In expending the taxpayers' money, is the officer applying a financial proprietary? If the officer is applying financial proprietary, then he would be wise and would spend the money for good governance. But if the officer is not exercising financial proprietary, then that would lead to the misappropriation of the funds or the misutilization. And this, you can write an example by the CAG report. CAG report in 2022 said that the MP-led funds have been not spent wisely. There is no accountability for the expenditure, and this has led to substandard works, and there have been excessive payments. So here, this can lead to compromise of the good governance, because the parameter of the good governance is efficiency, effectiveness, a rule of law, participation. That way, you can write this example. Always try to write examples or substantiate using the quotes or substantiate using the reports. There is a CAG report, second ARC report. Try to write them. Now, a very important part was the critical evaluation. You cannot complete this answer if you have not written the vice versa of it. So yes, we do need wisdom so that the officer is not just engrossed in the periphery. But what is core? What is periphery? It is not sacrosanct. So this is the counter thesis that you should write, the antithesis of the statement, critical evaluation of the statement. You know that while there is verification of the ration card, so what is a core? What is a periphery? That is not sacrosanct. So for example, verification of the ration card is needed if you want to actually solve the problem of urban hunger. अगर आपको urban hunger का problem solve करना है, तो हमें करना होगा verification of the ration card. But in an areas where there is complete destituteness, in an area there is abject poverty, then what is a core, what is a periphery issue, we don't know. So आपका situation बदल रहा है, then your core and periphery would also be changed. For example, verification of the ration card while distribution of foods in the urban areas, you need to verify. But even if somebody doesn't have the ration card in an abjectly poverty region, in a destitute area, then you need not actually be hell-bent upon verification of the ration card. Similarly, we cannot differentiate what is a core issue, what is a periphery issue in emergency situations. In the emergency situations like pandemic, riot, there we need to actually have discretion, and wisdom of an officer will help in effective delivery of the service. So periphery and core are not sacrosanct. This is what you will have to write, and this will also give you an examiner incentive to give you. I hope you like this video. Thank you for watching this video. Please do like, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Bye.